Hey there, Jen here. Let me share a cool picture with you. Give me a second. Or what I think is a cool picture. I hope it's a cool picture. To you too. There we go. I'm gonna ramble just for a minute. It's not my usual time to go online. Usually I'm a little bit earlier, but I honestly didn't want to make this video. Gosh, I feel like Jonah keeps like replaying in my head today all day. Um, I resisted making this video for as long as I could, which apparently is 48 hours, and sat on some information. Um, and that's not even what I'm going to show you first. What I'm going to show you first is something that just happened. And I said, okay, now I have to do a video, whether I want to or not. Please understand that for me, this is pretty surreal. Also understand that I always ramble a little bit to give other people a chance to get here and arrive. So I'm going to do that and tell you about this picture and why I'm showing it. Okay, so I got to thinking just now about how strange it is, and I'm going to switch screens because, well, when I see that nobody is watching, it makes me really self conscious. And I'm not a celebrity, I'm not an actor by any stretch of the imagination. And I'm going to talk about some very high strangeness here in this video. So I have to give a little preamble before I get into it. And that way, also, you know that the information did kind of originate here. Not for glory. If I was after glory, I'd show my face more and do myself up and all that stuff. Not for glory, but for the purpose of belief, so that to build that trust that I was trying to do from the beginning of all this on the other channel. Um, Time is short now, though, so who knows how much longer this is all going to go on. You'll have to forgive me. I'm a little punch drunk. I'm shaking a little bit. This is very surreal for me. This is my real life. And I just look back now and I go, for how long have other people known more about my own life? Like for how long has that been the case? And, looking back, I see all these things pointing to like me being mocked right in front of myself. And then my husband calling me a laughing stock when all this began in 2018 and the strange encounters. Okay, so I just talked about this yesterday and I just had something playing because, again, I've not felt great. And that's always how this goes. When I don't want to do a video, when I don't want to talk about these things, they just start piling up and I have to, and I have to get it out, or I'm nervous and I'm anxious. And I do believe God asked me to be a witness. And all I know how to do is speak on the things that I'm being shown. I can't speak for anyone else. I can't speak from anyone else's shoes. Um, The point in all this, though, is to get you to believe, so that not for the sake of belief, but for the sake of choose this day how you're going to live and what you're going to stand for. And for how long are we going to not believe what's right in front of us, our own senses? Like we're blind even in our natural way, even as humans, because we're not the only ones here. And we keep denying it to ourselves, like, oh, this is crazy. And oh, this is insane talk, or this is hogwash. And you still have people using that old gaslighting crap in the comment sections everywhere. And there is some type of awakening, but with that comes a wide load of responsibility for all of us. And so if I can point to these things and, be obedient in my way and try to offer my own gift or talent or whatever into this, I have to not worry if only 20 people see it. I have to just keep pushing forward and do what I'm here to do. On the other channel and on this channel, I have spoken about statues and about art and art history. And as someone who's worked with basic paints and how hard it is just to work with paint, and knowing how hard it is to work with wood. And I've worked with clay and a kiln and all these different things. When there's no seams on statues, it's not been molded. So it's had to have been by cheesecloth and water and chisels. And that'll get you really far. It will. But what we're seeing here, like, and this is what the Vatican holds. Like, this is where the Vatican holds part of human history. That's how I know that in the beginning, Christ Church is somewhere in there. Like, they have it, right? They have it. Are they that now? No. I don't know that I've told you it's time, like, come out of my people. We have to stay out of church buildings at this point. I've done my confession, I've done my Eucharist, and I still might go again this weekend. But what I do doesn't necessarily have to be what you do. There's a come on now. Here we go. All right. Sorry about that. Hopefully it will maintain continuity for the rewatch, anyone that rewatches it. All right. So I'm going to get back to sharing what I was sharing. Give me a second. Make sure you can see it. All right. This is freedom of information. It is publicly available information. I'm going to make sure that we're still live on the other end here. I appreciate your patience, guys. Thanks so much. All right. Now, I didn't look at this at all yet. I heard it briefly in another video. Like I said, it was just a moment. It was not much at all. It was just in the middle of a compilation video, and I don't have TikTok myself. And so I don't watch like that like other people do. So I'm reading this with you. Okay, so this is it says Russia International. The subject is a paper reports alleged evidence on mishap involving a UFO. The source is it says Kiev Holos, Ukraine. March 27th of 1993, and it was released in 2011. So it says reprint from the newspaper Ternopil. Okay, so some of this is going to be obviously in a language that I don't know. So when it's referring to Kiev, I'm going to try to not butcher it and just skip over it. I apologize in advance. I know a lot about languages, but that's one I've never even looked at. Cosmic Revenge, it says, first paragraph published in boldface. After Mikhail Gorbachev dissolved in 1991, the KGB Top Secret Intelligence Administration, a lot of material from that department found their way abroad, in particular to the CIA. As reported by the authoritative magazine Canadian Weekly World News, U.S. intelligence obtained a 250-page file on the attack by a UFO. And now let's be careful, right? Just because it's on the internet and says, it's from the Freedom of Information Act, doesn't mean that it is, but it did have the header and the watermark. So we're going to continue on. What you decide to accept and receive and believe is completely at your own discernment. It says U.S. intelligence obtained a 250-page file on the attack by a UFO on a military unit in Siberia. The file contains not only many documentary photographs and drawings, but also testimonies by actual participants in the events. One of the CIA representatives referred to this case as a horrific picture of revenge on the part of extraterrestrial creatures, a picture that makes one's blood freeze. All right, that's quite the dramatic lead in. I also want to mention something else odd that happened yesterday, and it ties in with this type of activity and high strangeness. Someone pointed out that they thought something was AI because it mispronounced a word. Now, I don't know how far we've fallen here in determining who's human and who's not, or who's worthy of life, but I mispronounce words all the time, and words are one of my gifting areas, legitimately. But I see new words all the time because I'm dwelling in topics that I'm not familiar to. That doesn't mean I'm AI. And that name is deceptive to begin with because it is an intelligence that is older than a lot of us in many ways. But that does not mean it's better. And that does not mean it's God's favorite or anything like that. And it definitely doesn't mean it has more authority here than we do. And again, this is all about getting you to give up your first estate like they did. If they get you to hand over the land to Satan, well, then that's his by default, which he's already a lot of people's God by default. They just don't realize it because everything's upside down. All right, I'm going to continue. Sorry. According to the KJB materials, a quite low-flying spaceship in the shape of a saucer appeared above a military unit that was conducting routine training maneuvers. For unknown reasons, somebody unexpectedly launched a surface-to-air missile and hit the UFO. Remember, UFO just means unidentified flying object. It fell to Earth not far away, and 5 short humanoids with large heads and large black eyes emerged from it. I think they are AI. I think the little gray things, I think they're some type of AI for the fallen angels. It is stated in the testimonies by the 2 soldiers who remained alive that after freeing themselves from the debris, the aliens came close together and then merged into a single object that acquired a spherical shape. That sounds like what we were hearing about in New Jersey about the plasmoids turning into UFOs and then into drones, and then back into plasmoids. That object began to buzz and hiss sharply, and then became brilliant white. In a few seconds, the spheres grew much bigger and exploded by flaring up with an extremely bright light. Satan comes as an angel of light. At that very instant, 23, which is another magic number, soldiers, because it was Michael Jordan's number too, and they're all sorcerers. Just FYI, they're kind of like Canaanites, but they're a different tribe. 23 soldiers who had watched the phenomenon turned into stone poles. They turned to stone. Only 2 soldiers who stood in the shade and were less exposed to the luminous explosion survived. The KJB report goes on to say that the remains of the UFO and the petrified soldiers were transferred to a secret scientific research institution near Moscow. Specialists assume that a source of energy that is still unknown to Earthlings instantly changed the structure of the soldiers' living organisms, having transformed it into a substance whose molecular composition is no different from that of limestone. A CIA representative stated, "If the KJB file corresponds to reality, this is an extremely menacing case. The aliens possess such weapons and technology that go beyond all our assumptions. They can stand up for themselves if attacked." Well, gee, do you think so? I mean, that's just a naive thing to say. Okay. So that is what I refer to as instant confirmation. I had just mentioned this yesterday, and we talked about this on the main channel about how I believe the ethnicity of the controllers has been, or not even ethnicity, how the species, how the tribe maybe of the controllers has been hidden um, by removing purposely, I believe, the noses of a lot of the Egyptian statues and busts. You can tell when something is done purposely to destroy something, or if it's happened in like transport. Again, art is where I kind of dwell. I don't always create, but I definitely understand how to do it, and how it should look. Ugh. So that was a kind of instant confirmation. We were just talking about the possibility that Moses is the actual body of Moses and that Michelangelo is not an artist, but he was the angel. And it's their little rub. Ha ha, here's your history. They just give it to us in a mixed up, messed up context. Or maybe, again, that's how it's given to us and it's our job to seek it out. But I would definitely want to hear what you guys have to say about that. If you agree, disagree, if you think the theory has merit. I am going to have to move to something else now, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing this screen and I'm going to pull up something else. Give me a second. I do have pictures. I had pulled them up on the phone though, and they're not big enough. So I'm going to pull a picture of somebody up and we're going to talk about the Black Eye Club a little bit. And it's one of my least favorite topics. It literally makes me sick to my stomach to talk about it. But we're going to talk about it. Now, here's what's really wild about this. I was watching a movie yesterday. Well, here's how I'll give it to you in the order that I did it. Hold on, please. Thank you. What's his name? There he is. Oh, no. Cancel, cancel. Don't do that. Here. There we go. Hold, please. I am pulling this up now, and I should be able to share it with you momentarily as soon as I pull up a picture of this grubby-looking individual. I apologize for showing you such a heinous-looking individual, but it needs to be done. Now, I had pulled this up on my phone yesterday to Google it to look into this individual. I don't know how else to say it. He grosses me out. But I'm gonna show you immediately when I saw this person's name, I thought that's an anagram. And so I wrote down his name and I started trying to make different words of it. And what's really funny is I could almost make the other person he looks like. And now again, I'm gonna prove to you, everyone thought I was crazy. Everyone's always thought I was crazy since this began in 2018. But I'm gonna show you proof again about this man or about the possibility of certain things that are going on. Okay, so we're going to share this. Now, I told you that when I look at a person, you can tell their spirit. You can tell just by looking at them, their spirit. Now, this dude didn't always look like this. All right, he didn't always look like this. I'm going to take you to the search. I'm going to share this tab. This is what he looked like several years ago. Okay. Now, granted, that eye was starting to get hooded. He's got that thing going on with his one eye, all right, which goes way back to Odin, to Thoth. Odin is the Norse god. They're giants, right? They're redheaded, blue-eyed, ginormous people. It goes way back. Okay, the one eye thing. Odin has a story very similar. He's kind of like a Christ archetype in their tribe. I'm gonna keep going, just again, everything's connected. Gilgamesh, all of it. Nimrod, it's all the same spirit. It's all the same spirit, basically, is what I'm getting at. But remember how I told you nobody wanted to believe me that I thought my family had been spiritually raptured and that I think these beings that are here with us now can change shape because I can tell some of them when I'm talking to them who it actually is, and even sometimes just by looking at them on a screen. Who does this dude remind you of? Does he remind you of anybody? I'm gonna show his ugly picture now. That's him now. That's allegedly what this same individual looks like. Does that remind you of a picture of anybody else? I'm gonna bring up a picture of somebody. Because some people, when they do this black eye club thing, some people have the actual skin around their eye and all that stuff gets black. Some, it's the eyeball. It's like the cornea and all that, and the retina and all that stuff. Cornea, I guess is what it would be. Um, you see his eye? It's kind of strange, no? And it seems to, I don't want to say it happens in older people, and I'm not sure. Again, I'm going to show you one possibility that is basic, and all my disclaimers will be in the description box. We are investigating. We are doing our due diligence here and trying to figure out who runs the show here, because I'm definitely not going to be run by droids. Oh, and the cover of I have to pull it up. I'm sorry, I can't. Of the Terminator. Ken, it's all connected. I'll show you him after we show you this lovely. Hey, there's another one. You see it? Do you see it? Huh? Now, I'm going to tell you, if you're watching the rebroadcast of this, pause it and toggle back and forth between the two. I'm going to pull him back up. It's fair to say that if he had some dangling clip-on pearls and maybe a curly wig with a fancy floppy hat, he would actually look a lot like her. And he holds his hands in a very effeminate nature the way a queen does. I know because the other picture I have saved, which I'll try to make a collage of and put it on as the thumbnail. The other picture I saved of him on my phone when I first wanted to find out who this person was. He was a CEO in Nestle. He took the place of Charles Schwab. Whatever this thing is, it seems to get into the vessel of people who are in high places. which we already knew. I'm going to show you one possible medical reason for this because it came up in a movie yesterday that I was watching. And again, this was only separated by like minutes, like 20 minutes. I put it down and I was like, nope, I'm not making this video. I don't want to do this. I don't want to talk about this topic. I hate this topic. It's just, I don't know why. It just really bothers me. And I picked a movie to watch from 2001 and I had to pay for it. I even had to pay for it because I was like, you know what? I want to see this movie. I heard it mentioned in a review. I'm going to buy this movie. And I didn't know anything about it. Like they didn't tell you anything like at all really in the preview. And they give a reason for this phenomenon that we're seeing. And I'm going to show you that reason. And again, I'm not a doctor. No part of this is medical advice. It's a part of our disgusting history as human beings in America and what we have done to each other. I'm going to show you one possibility that is of this world of where that could come from. But then real quick, I'll be darned if they don't kind of look like the same person. And again, I'll show you, if I can't make a thumbnail out of these two pictures, I will share them at the same time over on the community page so that you can look at them side by side. They look like the same individual. I'm going to X part of this out so you can get a better look at like this whole, when she had this going on. Because either we have the clumsiest people, citizenry everywhere out of the whole world, or something's going on. You can't get a black eye from tripping and falling on the ice, and that's the only thing that gets black. Dude, she looks like I mean, I'm sorry. I think they all reverse roles all the time, and that means their gender that they present too. I'm going to go back to him. Even the hands are very feminine. And look at the teeth. Kind of the same type of dentures. Dude, I'll be darned if that's not the same person. And look how pale underneath the eyes there. That's of like a redheaded feature too. That's like that real pale skin, and as you age it gets almost shiny. She's got that going on too. See right there? So I'm going to show you one possibility for this. So just hang on there for a second, because I didn't pay for this movie for no reason. This, again, God's like, you're going to do this whether you want to or not. And it has a connection to our current administration. So I have to show you this. Okay. I have to look up a certain thing though. So, this is something that we participated in a lot in the era of the asylums. And I've mentioned this too. This is what they want to do to a lot of us, is by reopening these. Now, I don't know if they would do this again, this is all speculation. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. No part of this is medical advice. We're doing our due diligence and trying to find out what's going on with our world leaders. I'll be darned if this is one reason among many that I don't vote for these individuals. What are they doing? It is like Project Paperclip never ended. Germany won the war, and they are secretly running America as an experimental nation just to see what happens to us, what it takes to end us. Because the human body can go through so much more than they've led you to believe. We're not nearly as fragile as you think we are. But again, I've talked at length on that too. Now, this is called, it was a surgical procedure in the past where a sharp instrument was inserted through the front of the eye to access the brain. This method was later replaced with transorbital technique. But using a long, thin instrument, patients who underwent the procedure often exhibited significant personality changes. Now, we saw ministers, Paul Washer, had a black eye. And that he was like, that one killed me. I really liked him. When I was first coming back to God, I watched a lot of his sermons, and his friend too, James, whatever his name is. I forget the guy's name. I don't know. And they have all these wild reasons. Oh, I got stung by a bee. Steve the camper, it was I fell on ice. BS, you didn't fall on ice, and the only thing that got hurt was your eyeball. I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. I worked in the medical field. Like, it's much more rare than they lead you to believe. But when you're in the Fight Club, you don't talk about the Fight Club, right? Okay, so what I have to show you is the side effects of this, and what, where that can come from, what happens, and the whole bit. Now I'm going to share this tab with a couple so we don't lose our connection here. Make sure you guys are good over there. And you are. Check this out. Oh, somebody said hello. Very nice. I finally got audio on my end, and you mentioned limestone. I need to know more. Limestone. Oh, yes. We will talk about all that stuff as well. Not in this one. We'll get more to stone and granite and cheesecloth, and how some of those statues are just so impossible. Okay, so there is a specific one. This is from the Greek, of course. They sever a connection to your prefrontal cortex. Okay, that's what they do. It's used for the handling of psychiatric disorders as a mainstream procedure in some countries. The procedure was controversial from its initial use, in part due to a lack of recognition of the severity and chronicity. It's chronicity when you add the of severe and enduring psychiatric illnesses, so it was said to be an inappropriate treatment. I have to mention this in context to the current administration. RFK's sister had this done because she was considered to be the more liberal of the family. They said that she had a behavioral disorders, but back then, as a female, a behavioral disorder could have been something as simple as telling the men of her family, no, kind of like me. I do not consent to anything like this to happening to me. Um, I do not want to end anyone else. I do not want to end myself. Let me just say that loud and proud in every single video if I have to. Um, because these beings will be uncovered for what they are and what's going on here. There is no choice. It comes to a point where the people who are going to sign off on this are going to have to consent to it, which I don't, and you shouldn't either. But let's get into this a little bit. I want you to see. I saw this in a movie called Session 9, and I said, oh my gosh, I was just looking up the black eyes earlier today. This is God again trying to say, wake up, wake up, wake up. You've got to do this. You've got to do this. Nobody could have known, like, the video that I would have picked, and out of the compilation video, which one I would have watched. And again, yes, these beings know something about the future, but it's only because they are around people like me. And I don't consent to being like, my energy is being hijacked. The Most High Creator, Maker God asked me to do this. That's why I do it. That's it. Ominous portrayals of, okay, da-da-da-da. We need to see side effects. Can I just see side effects? Okay, the purpose was to reduce the symptoms of mental disorder. Following the operation, spontaneity, responsiveness, self-awareness, and self-control were reduced. That means, like, they would go in their pants too. This is so, I do not consent, I do not consent, I do not consent for myself and on behalf of humanity. The activity was replaced by inertia, and people were mostly left emotionally blunted and restricted in their intellectual range, meaning if they were 13, they would stay 13 for the rest of their life. They would not grow from the point that this happened to them. Some of them would regress completely and not have any control over their bellies. This is reduced affect display, sometimes referred to as an emotional blunting or emotional numbing, is a condition of reduced emotional reactivity in an individual. It manifests as a failure to express feelings, either verbally or non-verbally, especially when talking about issues that would normally be expected to Oh, heaven's sakes. Normally be expected to little animation in facial expression or vocal inflection, meaning monotone, like robots, kind of like what we're dealing with now with all these people. So I question you again, like, are Freemasons, do they sign up for this willingly? Does it happen to them unwillingly? Is it people in high positions who are influential, who they see that are influencing others? And so they decide to do this? Because what it's saying here is apathy. Didn't I just do a video about apathy? Referred to as indifference is a lack of feeling, emotion, interest, or concern about something. It's a state of indifference or the suppression of emotions, such as concern, excitement, motivation, or passion. So basically, a really good slave, a really good worker bee, a really good robot, organic robot. So what's happening here doesn't even have to be totally supernatural. It can also be, oh, good old science, right? Scientism, one world religion that everybody would worship. I'm so disgusted. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm disgusted. You should be too. I've been trying to do like happy or not even happy videos, but like edifying videos. And I knew I had to cover this. All right. So we're going to look into, I have to show you who Ethel Kennedy is real quick. All the women out there should be very, very careful from now on with anyone they get involved with, anyone that has any say over your actions, what you do, what you don't do. Do I have the wrong name? Was it Ethel or Edith? Hold, please. Rosemary. I'm sorry. Correction, Rosemary Kennedy, not Ethel. I was gonna say she looks pretty healthy. It's definitely not her. Here we go. We covered Typhoid Mary. I told you how she was basically ostracized and put in a forever quarantine on Rikers Island or Plum Island, one of the islands off of New York, for not getting the alleged plague that went around. And I think she was one of the people who knew what was happening, just like we're seeing happen in today, and they couldn't harm her. See, that's the thing, these beings can't harm you. Like, they have to get you under their consent, or you have to come into agreement with them. That's the spirit, that's the supernatural angle, is coming into agreement with other spirits that are not holy. So let's take a look at her. Now, I have no say, like, as far as are the Kennedys a good family, a bad family. Again, I don't make blanket statements like that. Christ said only the Father in heaven is good because we all touch sin down here, or at least for now, or until that's cleaned up, and until we make the decision to participate in our own redemption. And redemption is a word everyone should understand. Not everybody understands salvation, but redemption should be a word everybody wants a redemption arc. Everybody. And everybody should have the chance to have one. Rosemary Kennedy, September 13th, 1918 to January 7th, 2005, was the eldest daughter born to Joseph P. Kennedy Sr. and Rose Fitzgerald Kennedy. She was a sister of President John F. Kennedy and Senators Robert F. and Ted Kennedy. If you haven't looked into Ted Kennedy, he's a real piece of work. He hated, again, all of these people who control things, they usually are masochists. They hate women. And I loved men too much in my past. This is just a fact. You give them too much power, this is how they act. This is why they're okay being in good with the fallen angels. They don't care about what comes after here. They care about the here and now. That I still maintain, I believe the female is closer to God because we give birth. And I don't care how that sounds. It was the woman in the Adam and Eve. She taught Adam how to pray. All right. Anyways, as a child, she reportedly exhibited developmental delays. Now, you can see this here. I don't know if she had a lazy eye or, again, if this is a side effect of what happened, but let's watch. In her young adult years, Kennedy was becoming increasingly irritable and difficult. Well, if you look, she was a sister of Ted Kennedy. This guy. He served as a member of the United States Senate from 1962 to his death in 2009. He was also under investigation for the murder of a female that they found at the bottom of a river, I think, in a car. I don't know whatever happened with it. I think he was found not guilty, so I'm not going to say anything either way. But these are the people who were around her, okay? So again, all she had to do was say the word no to any of these individuals, or she had to see the wrong thing and they figured, well, we'll do this. We'll just we don't have a choice. And then they stuff you in an asylum. They're not the ones who have to watch you suffer. And if they are watching you suffer, well, then they can have the procedure done themselves. See, and in effect, what they're doing is creating an entire society of psychopaths. I mean that in this most serious sense of the word. We are surrounded by psychopaths who have no empathy. When you have no empathy and you're a human being, that makes you a psychopath by definition. I'm not a doctor. No part of this is medical advice. We are researching. In response to these issues, her father arranged a lobotomy when she was 23. It left her permanently incapacitated and rendered her unable to speak intelligibly. Oh, that wasn't done on purpose, was it, though? Because some people have this procedure done and they can talk quite well afterwards. They just have no empathy. She spent most of the rest of her life being cared for at St. Coletta, an institution in Jefferson, Wisconsin. The truth about her situation and whereabouts was kept secret for decades while she was initially isolated from her siblings and extended family following her lobotomy. She did go on to visit them during her later life. This is our history, America. Are we going to allow this stuff to repeat itself? There's going to come a savior come swooping in. Say, do as thou wish, that shall be the whole of the law. Which is worse here? This is why you seek God, and this is why you get your morals from a higher standard than because we're used to dwelling in the muck and grime. We're used to behaving like pigs in mud. If you don't treat a lady like a lady, she will not behave like a lady. If you don't expect more of your leaders, they will not give you more. If you need a leader, you're going to get the leader you deserve. This video has been long enough. If you need some edifying, encouraging words, I would suggest you go back to earlier in the week. I love you. Have a blessed day.